And you are of course most welcome. This is Project Euler problem number 18, and we're going to solve 67 as well because they are exactly the same problem. Okay, by starting at the top of the triangle below and moving to adjacent numbers on the row below, the maximum total from top to bottom is 23. Find the maximum total from top to bottom in the triangle below. Okay, so as it says down here, there are 16,000 roots roughly. You can brute force this. I don't actually know how because the clever method is so much easier to code. So I'm just going to show you that today. And as I said, 67 is exactly the same problem, just with a much bigger triangle, and brute force is basically impossible anyway. So the way to solve this is to completely ignore what it says at the top. It's a total red herring. It says find the maximum total from top to bottom. So your instinct is to start with the 3 and work your way down. That is wrong. What we do is actually the other way. So we're going to start with the second bottom. So we're going to take a number in our triangle, say this 2, and we're going to look at the two numbers directly beneath it, so the 8 and the 5. Now 8 plus 2 or 8 plus 5, which gives the bigger sum? It's obviously 8 plus 2, so we will take out this 2 and put in 10. This 4 adds up with either the 5 or the 9, so that becomes 13. This 6 adds up with the 9 or the 3, so that becomes 15. The 7 adds up with the 10 or the 13 to become 20. And the 4 adds up with the 15 or the 13 to become 19. Finally, this 3 adds up with either the 20 or the 19. It's going to be the 20, so we have 23. So that is how we solve this problem. Don't know why I'm deleting that. Okay, so let's get on and code. I'm just going to have to change a few things. Now I have I should try to bring up the CSV file. Basically, I've turned this triangle, this one here, into a CSV file, which I will attempt to show you. There it is. So as you can see, I've taken this triangle, turned it into a CSV file. So it looks slightly different, but it's the same triangle. And rather than using commas to separate all the values, I've just used spaces. So and I've got 67 as well. That's the same thing, just a much bigger triangle. So let us solve this problem. Let's get rid of that. Right. Okay. So first thing we need to do is import CSV. And then we're going to open the file. So with open p18.csv. So we're opening the file here, and we need to give it a name. So as I'll just call it p18. That'll do. Now once we've opened the file, we need a reader object that's actually going to read the numbers in from the file. So item reader, it's not a good name, is it? Item reader equals csv.reader. Oh, I forgot to do something. Up here we need to tell Python where how to find a new line. So a new line exists simply when there's an empty space. So we'll just have that. That'll do. Okay, so item reader equals csv.reader. We're reading in the file p18.csv. Oh no, it's just called p18. And now we need to set the delimiter. So the delimiter is just a space. So delimiter equals that. Okay. Now there's a slight problem here because the item reader, this object here, will read in all of the rows of numbers from the file, but it'll store them as strings, and we want to convert them to integers. So I'm going to store the triangle as a two-dimensional array. I'm going to read in each row from the triangle, convert all the numbers in the row to integers, and then add it to this array. So we're going to have an array of arrays. Oh, we don't need that. Right, next. So what are we doing next? For row in item reader. Now there is a way to do this in one line. I'm just going to think. T.append int I for I in row. That should do it. I'm just going to print that off just to make sure that does work, and then print T. So I will get rid of Chrome so that you can see this as well. Here we go. And there. Yes, so that's read in the files correctly. So we've got an array with one value there, and an array with two values, an array with three values, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's wonderful. Okay, so that all works. Now, this is the bit I find slightly harder to explain because we've got to do the algorithm that I showed you earlier. So we're going to start with the second bottom row in the triangle and work our way up to the top row. So because it's all zero indexed, that makes it slightly more complex. So we're going to end up at the 0th row, and you know how Python is, it's bloody awkward. So when you do the loop, you've got to put -1. I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to work our way up through the rows. So for row in T, for row in range, should be for row in range. So we want to start from the second bottom row, which is length of T -2. Just trust me, it is. We want to go up to the 0th row, and because it's Python, we have to then put -1. And we also have to tell Python that we're decrementing. So that is how we're going to work our way up through the rows. For col in range, so once we go into a row, we want to work through every value left to right. So we'll start at the 0th value, and we'll end at however many numbers are in that row. So length T row. And we're moving left to right, so that's fine. So this algorithm lands on a value in our triangle. We have to find out what is the maximum sum for that value. So it means looking at the two values directly beneath it and finding out which produces the biggest sum. So T row col, that's the current value in the triangle, plus equals, and we're going to add to it the maximum of the two values directly beneath. So it's max, and then it's going to be T row plus 1, because it's the row beneath, so row plus 1, and then col. Yep, col, and T row plus 1, col plus 1. Now why have I done it like that? Well, let's have a look. I'll bring paint back up just briefly. What am I doing? Paint. There. Right, so you should be able to see the whole triangle. I'll just get the graphics tablet back up. So this 2, for instance, that's the second row down, it's the first value, so it would be, I think, in our array it would have an index of 2, 0. This 8 would have an index of 3, 0, and this one over here, this 5, would have an index of 3, 1. So it's row plus 1 and col, row plus 1, col plus 1. So that is correct as far as I know. So get rid of paint. So I think this is correct. So we are going to go for a run. What do we want to do? We want to print off the top value in the triangle. So print t 0, 0. Okay, I think this is going to work. So, we don't want to print that off again. And yes, that's correct. So that's good. Right, we can of course change all this because I have exactly the same files for problem 67. So let's just change that and change this, and it shouldn't take too much time. So problem 67 also solved. That's very nice, isn't it? So that's it. Problem 18 and problem 67. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time for problem number 19.